This is too much, it's only a graduation, said my ex-wife and our 17-year-old son. I was standing in the helium balloon aisle at Party City, holding a shiny black balloon shaped like a graduation cap in one hand and a crumpled list in the other, stained with grease from the leftover pizza I'd eaten alone the night before. There was something absurd about the whole thing, the rows of cartoon characters, metallic stars, big glittery, class of 2025, letters screaming celebration in every font imaginable. Everything smelled like rubber and sugar, that strange artificial scent you only get from places that sell both latex and candy. My hands were sweating. The fluorescent lights overhead made everything look hyperreal, sharp, exposed, too bright, like I was being watched. I've been planning Aaron's graduation party for about 3 weeks. Not a big affair, just a backyard cookout, a few neighbors, a couple of his friends, the grandparents if they could stomach being in the same space as each other. My parents always made a scene even at funerals, so this would be a stretch. But still, it felt important. He was graduating, my son, my only kid, 17 years old and tall now, taller than me, with this effortless cool that he didn't inherit from either parent. I had to work so hard just to be tolerable when I was his age. He made disinterest look like art. The idea started with a string of lights. I was scrolling through Instagram one night, half drunk, and I saw a photo of someone's backyard all lit up with these warm golden Edison bulbs. People were holding red Solo cups and laughing, and the caption said something like, "Proud of my boy, class of 2025, grateful." I stared at it longer than I should have. I clicked the profile, some guy from my high school, not a friend, just someone whose kid looked like they actually liked him. So I ordered the lights. Then I got the idea for a projector to play old home videos on the side of the house, clips from when Aaron was still a kid, when he used to crawl into my lap without hesitation and talk about dinosaurs for hours. I found one video where he was running in circles in a pirate hat, screaming, "I'm the boss of the sea," and I laughed so hard I had to sit down on the floor, but then I cried. Because I couldn't remember the last time he said anything to me that wasn't monosyllabic. Lee, my ex, didn't get it. I told her about the party when I called to confirm our co-parenting schedule. A party for what? Graduation, I said. High school, you know, that thing kids do before adulthood swallows them whole. She sighed. I could hear her stirring a pot in the background, the clink of a spoon against ceramic. It's just high school, Eli. He doesn't even care about it. I care. That's not the same thing. There was a long pause after that. I wanted to say something clever, something that would shut her down without sounding bitter. But the truth is, she was right. It was for me. I was the one who cared. I was the one clinging. She moved on 5 years ago, remarried last spring. Her new husband drives a Tesla and wears linen shirts in winter. I'm still in the same rental house with the squeaky screen door and the patchy grass. I kept the bedroom that used to be Aaron's the same for a while, same posters, same toy chest. Now it's more of a guest room with a mattress on the floor and a broken lamp. When I brought it up to Aaron a few days later, he didn't even look up from his phone. We were sitting in my car after a dentist appointment. The AC was broken and both of us were sweating through our shirts. I handed him an iced tea, trying to be the cool dad, which felt pathetic even as I did it. I was thinking for graduation we could do a thing like a little party. Backyard, burgers, projector, lights, Loki, just your people. He blinked slowly, took a sip. I don't really want a party. Okay, but it might be nice. I thought it'd be fun. He scrolled, "This is too much. It's only a graduation." The words came out flat, dismissive, like I'd suggested we get matching tattoos. He didn't mean it to hurt me, I don't think, but it did. Something about the way he said only a graduation, like it wasn't monumental, like it wasn't a miracle he got here at all, like the years hadn't cost something. I wanted to shout, "Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed?" But that's not something a dad says to a kid. That's something a bitter man says to no one in particular. I nodded, "Sure, no party then." He shrugged, opened TikTok, and that was the end of it. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes after dropping him off, Just sat there, engine off. The sun was brutal through the windshield. My shirt stuck to my back. I kept thinking about the string lights in the box on my porch. I had already bought the paper lantern. I had already defrosted the brisket. I had already invited the neighbors. I didn't cancel anything that day, though. I told myself maybe he'd change his mind. Maybe he was just being a teenager, detached, resistant to anything that required vulnerability. But a few nights later, I found myself crying in my car. I didn't plan it. I had just picked up a cake mix from CVS, Red Velvet, his favorite when he was younger. I don't even think he eats cake anymore. I got in the car, turned the key, and the tears came like someone had thrown a switch. Ugly, hiccuping sobs. I gripped the wheel and tried to breathe through it, but my whole chest was shaking. I felt pathetic. 44 years old, crying in a CVS parking lot over a canceled graduation party. It wasn't about the party. Not really. It was about time, about the space between who Aaron used to be and who he is now, and how I couldn't find the bridge. It was about every missed weekend, every phone call that went to voicemail, every school play I wasn't invited to. It was about Lee's voice in my head saying you're not reliable, and how I'd spent years trying to prove her wrong with grocery lists and perfectly timed birthday cards. It was about sitting in this house alone while my son built a life I was barely part of. The next morning, I canceled everything. I sent out texts that said things like Aaron decided to keep it small and thanks anyway, even though no one had RSVP'd. I unplugged the string lights from the fence. I put the brisket back in the freezer. I left the box of decorations in the hall closet and closed the door. The silence in the house was thick after that, like it had a texture. I kept checking my phone like I was waiting for someone to say, "You tried your best," or even just, "Hey, are you okay?" But no one did. I didn't tell anyone the truth. Because how do you explain that your heart broke over a party no one asked for? How do you say, "I just wanted one day where it felt like I hadn't lost everything"? I wish I could say the moment passed, that I wiped my tears, laughed at myself, and moved on, but it didn't pass, not really. It settled in, quiet, heavy. Like fog that doesn't lift, just sinks deeper. The thing about silence is that it doesn't come all at once. It trickles in. First it's just no new messages. Then it's no sound from the fridge except that pathetic hum like it's trying to breathe through a straw. Then it's the kind of silence you start hearing things in your own heartbeat, the ticking of the kitchen clock you forgot you had, the neighbors upstairs dragging chairs across the floor like they're rearranging their entire lives. I slept on the couch for the first few nights after the cancellation. Not for any real reason, just didn't want to go into the bedroom, felt like the bed had expectations, like it needed me to have a routine, to lie down at a reasonable hour and pretend to sleep like a functioning adult. But the couch didn't care. It let me curl up in last week's clothes, scroll through old photos, drink flat beer from a can. It never judged. I opened my laptop once, work emails stacked up like unpaid bills. I stared at them, blinking. I could almost hear my boss's voice, "Need that deck by Friday." I clicked out of the tab and ordered a pizza instead, double pepperoni. The guy at the counter knew my voice. That made me feel something, not good, not bad, just noted. I drank too much, but not dramatically, just steadily, maintenance level, enough to take the edge off the hours. Mornings started with Advil and a lie I told myself, "Today I'll do something," but I didn't, not right away. I watched YouTube videos of people building cabins in the woods with nothing but axes and resolve. I watched one guy make an entire house out of shipping pallets. He looked so sure of himself in every frame. I envied that certainty. It's a weird thing, missing someone who's still alive. Like grief without a death certificate. Aaron wasn't gone. He was probably playing video games in his mom's basement or skating down at the park with kids who didn't know my name. But to me, he was distant in a way that felt terminal. I kept wondering if this was it, if the slow fade had finally faded for good, if I'd get Christmas cards with his name typed, not signed, if in 5 years he'd call me Eli instead of Dad. I went on walks, that was something. Down by the river where the air smelled like wet bark and algae and whatever chemical they used to try and pretend nature was winning. I passed old couples and joggers, dogs chasing geese, kids throwing rocks and pretending they weren't bored. I sat on the same bench most days. The one with the initials carved into the back, J+R=4 forever. I ran my fingers over the grooves like Braille, trying to read someone else's history. One time I saw this guy on a bike, old Schwinn, rusted chain, singing quietly in Spanish as he passed. I didn't know the song, but it stayed with me for hours afterward. There was something so unashamed about it, like he didn't care who heard. I admired that. Maya found me in the dairy aisle at Safeway. I was holding two different kinds of yogurt and thinking about how I'd probably let both expire anyway. She tapped my arm and said my name like it belonged to me. I hadn't seen her since she moved out, used to live on the second floor, right above me. Her dog died, and after that she couldn't stand the silence. She looked good, tired but good, the kind of tired that comes from trying. "You look like you're deciding between depression and low-fat vanilla," she said. I smiled genuinely. I think I might go with both. We talked for a while, caught up, avoided the real stuff. She asked if I still wrote music, and I lied and said yes. She said she just started painting again, even though she was terrible at it, which I doubted. Maya was never terrible at anything except maybe commitment, but that was both of us, too good at leaving before the wreck. Before we parted, she said, "You want to get coffee sometime, not like a date, just not alone." And I said yes, because that's all I really wanted, to not be alone. At home, I wrote Aaron a letter, real pen and paper. That was the only way I could do it. Typing felt too efficient, too sterile. The letter started with "I'm sorry" and ended with "I hope you remember that I tried." I didn't send it, folded it into a square and tucked it in the drawer next to old utility bills and a broken flashlight. Something started shifting after that, not fast, not dramatic, just small pivots. I cleaned the bathroom for the first time in weeks, scrubbed the tiles until my hands were raw. I took out the trash. I washed the windows. The world still felt far away, but now I could see it through glass that wasn't smudged. I stopped checking Aaron's Instagram. That one hurt, but it felt like cutting a wire, maybe the one that kept shocking me. I unfollowed Lee too. No more cupcake photos. No more birthday posts with my boy's blue heart, even though I wasn't one of them anymore. Instead, I watched the projector footage by myself one night, played that pirate video on the side of the house just like I'd planned. The yard was empty, the grill untouched, but I stood there with a blanket over my shoulders like it was an event anyway. Aaron ran across the screen in slow motion, yelling about the sea, and for a moment I could almost believe he was still reachable. Like if I reached into the light, I could catch him mid-run. But the light is just pixels, just reflection. It doesn't hold anything, not really. Still, I stayed out there until the video ended, until the battery died and the screen went black. Then I sat in the dark for a while, listening to the hum of the fridge inside and the distant sound of the train tracks 2 streets over. I didn't cry that time. I just sat, breathing, feeling. It wasn't peace, not yet. But it was something. And after weeks of nothing, something felt like a start. The letter stayed in the drawer for 12 days before I opened it again. Then it had absorbed the scent of the wood, dry, faintly sour, and the ink had started to blur just slightly, as if my own words didn't want to be read. I sat at the kitchen table under the yellow light that made everything look like old paper, and I reread it like it had been written by someone else. Maybe it had. That version of me was exhausted, hungover, starved for something I couldn't name. I folded it again, then unfolded it, then folded it tighter. Then I threw it away. The phone rang that afternoon. It was Leigh. Not a text, not an email, her voice. I hadn't heard it since the Party City call. "Hey," she said like it was a casual thing. "Aaron's supposed to be at your place this weekend, right?" I hesitated. I'd forgotten. The schedule blurred when there wasn't anyone excited to follow it. "Yeah," I said too quickly. "Of course." She paused. "He doesn't really want to go, but I think you should make him." I blinked. "What?" "He's being a teenager," she said. "He won't say it, but he misses you. Just don't let him make the call for both of you." I didn't know what to say to that. Was this guilt or a gift? "He's still yours, Eli," she added softly. even if he doesn't act like it. I could have cried, I didn't. Instead, I cleaned the guest room, changed the sheets, lit a candle, put the one framed photo we had together back on the dresser from when he was 9, grinning with both his front teeth missing, me crouched behind him with a Nerf gun and dark circles under my eyes. He came that Friday. Didn't say much. Dropped his backpack at the door and went straight to the couch, already scrolling. We ordered pizza again. We sat in silence again. The air was thick with all the words we weren't saying. I turned on a movie, some dumb action flick he liked. He watched with one earbud in, half listening. I should have let it go. Should have just let the weekend pass like a weather system, come and gone, leaving nothing behind but damp ground. But I didn't. I went to take the trash out and found the card. The one I'd left on his pillow that night after canceling the party. Congratulations, I'm proud of you. Always, handwritten, underlined, not overly sentimental, but sincere. It was crumpled, not trashed, just crushed like a soda can, stuffed into the side pocket of his backpack. I stood there for too long, holding it. My breath felt stuck in my throat like a chunk of food that wouldn't move. When I walked back in, I held it up without a word. Aaron looked up, eyebrows lifting slightly. What? You didn't even read this? I asked. He glanced at the card, then back at his phone. I saw it. You crumpled it. It's just a card, Dad, chill. That word, chill, that stupid, dismissive word, it cracked something inside me, not loudly, not like a plate shattering, more like paper tearing. A quiet rip you don't notice until everything's loose and ruined. I sat down across from him. Do you know why I planned that party? I asked, not softly. Aaron sighed, shifted like he was bracing himself for one of my talks. I threw that party because I wanted to celebrate you, because I wanted to feel like I was part of your life for once, not just some place you visit. Not just the backup plan. His face went blank, a teenage defense mechanism I knew too well. That look that says, if I don't feel anything, you can't touch me. I didn't ask for a party, he muttered. I know, I said, I know you didn't, but I needed it. Silence. The movie kept playing in the background. Someone was being shot at, a car exploded. I needed one day, I continued, voice catching. One day to not feel like a ghost in your life. One day where I wasn't just a name on a schedule. He stared at me, then looked down, fidgeted with the hem of his hoodie. You always make everything heavy, he mumbled. I know, I said, swallowing hard. Because it is heavy, Aaron. You think it's just a diploma, just a party, but for me, it was more than that. It was a chance to feel like I mattered. His hand stopped moving. I could see the flush rising on his neck. Embarrassment, guilt, I didn't know. I don't know what you want from me, he said finally, not angry, just tired. I don't want anything, I said. I just want you to know how I feel. That's all. I know I can't fix it. I can't go back, but I'm still here. Whether or not you care, I'm still here. A long silence, one where the only sound was the ice melting in his soda and my own pulse in my ears. Then slowly he nodded. Not a big gesture, just once. Later that night, when I was brushing my teeth, I heard him open the guest room door. He didn't come out right away, just hovered. Then, quietly, I didn't mean to crumple the card, I didn't know what to do with it. I turned to face him. His face was pale in the hallway light. He looked small again for just a second, like the boy who used to cry when I left after the weekend. Like the boy who once whispered, "Don't go yet, I don't want to forget your voice." It's okay, I said, thanks for telling me. He nodded again and went back to bed. No hugs, no tears, no big dramatic healing arc. But something shifted in the air. Something cracked open, not broken, just breached, like a sealed window opened for the first time in years. The silence that night didn't feel like punishment. It felt like possibility. And I held on to that. It didn't fix everything. That's the first thing I have to say. I think I expected some clean shift, some invisible milestone I'd cross where everything would make sense again, but it wasn't like that. It was quieter, slower, like watching ice melt. You don't see the change until it's already happened. After that weekend, Aaron texted me a few times. Nothing long, a meme here, a photo of some sneakers he wanted. Once he sent me a TikTok with a caption that said, "This is literally you." It was a video of a dad trying to use slang and getting roasted by his kid in the car. I watched it 10 times, laughed every time. It was something, it was more than I'd had in months. He came by the next weekend, and the next, not always for long. Sometimes he just came to eat, crash on the couch, use the better Wi-Fi, but I didn't press him. I didn't try to turn each moment into a big father-son bonding montage. I just let him exist in the space with me. Let the air between us loosen without forcing it into shape. Maya and I started seeing each other again, but gently, carefully. She painted a terrible portrait of me, charcoal on canvas, that made me look like I'd survived a shipwreck. I told her it was awful and she laughed, said it was her first honest piece. We made a habit of meeting at the cafe near the park every Tuesday. Not dates, not really. Just human contact that didn't ask for performance. She didn't want me to be anyone, just be. I started cooking again, nothing fancy. Mostly the things Aaron used to love when he was younger: grilled cheese, spaghetti, eggs with the yolks still runny. He didn't ask for them, but when he came over and saw a plate on the table, he ate without comment. That was enough. I wrote more letters, not to send, just to get the words out of my body. Some to Aaron, some to Lee, one to my younger self, the version of me who used to think if he worked hard enough, he could hold everything together. I told him he was wrong, but I forgave him for it. I kept walking down by the river. Same bench, same initials on the back, J+R= forever. Sometimes I'd bring a thermos of coffee and just sit, watching the world keep turning. Once I saw the singing man again, same bike, same quiet melody. He nodded at me this time. I nodded back, didn't even try to understand the lyrics, just let the music be music. The house started to feel less like a monument to loss. I opened the windows more, let light in, put up the string lights again, not for a party, just for me. They made the backyard glow like something remembered. Some nights I'd sit out there with a blanket and a beer I didn't need, just wanted, and that felt important, that difference. Work got better, or maybe I just started showing up for it again. Replied to emails, took calls, got out of my own way. My boss didn't ask where I'd been. I think he knew not to. One night, Aaron stayed over without being asked. We were watching a movie, something dumb and loud, and when it ended, he said, "I'm too tired to Uber back." I offered to drive, but he said, "It's fine, I'll just crash." And he went into the guest room, no hesitation. Later, I passed by and saw the door cracked. He was asleep, mouth slightly open, one arm dangling off the bed like he used to do when he was little. I stood there too long, probably, just watching, not with sadness, not with longing, but with a kind of quiet gratitude. He was here. I was here. That was enough. The next morning, he didn't make a big deal of it, just grabbed a banana, muttered thanks, and left. But he texted me later that day, movie night next week, just that, no emoji, no filler. I stared at it for a while. Then I typed back, "Yeah, let's do it." I didn't cry, I didn't laugh. I just breathed. It wasn't the life I imagined. Not the version with holiday cards and perfect handoffs and father-son road trips, but it was real, ours, uneven, unfinished, but intact in its own crooked way. Some nights when the silence returns, and it does, I let it in. I sit with it. I don't rush to fill it. It doesn't scare me the way it used to, because I know now it doesn't always mean absence. Sometimes it just means space. Space to listen, to rebuild, to be. And that's where I am now. Not healed, not whole, but here, still here.